So Eileen, I made you the co-host, so, and I also opened up the breakout room for the CAD group if they want to hop in there.
Got it. I think we might wait, like, I don't know, should I wait in the main room for a bit and then go
Yeah.
in?
We'll
Okay,
just wait a couple minutes, for everybody to trickle in, and then we'll split off into the rooms and get started with instruction.
got it. Sounds good.
Probably around 1 more minute for the final few people to come in, and then we'll split off into the rooms. So should be starting soon. Okay, I think we can probably start now. I think everybody who's gonna come has come now. So the people finishing up in the this is the CAD group. We'll stay in the main room. We did the first 3 days CAD, then the last 2 days Java, and then the Java group can go to the to the breakout room for their last day of CAD. So I think all the rooms should be open now. So everybody can go to the breakout room or just stay in the main room.
Okay, so like Tanish said, if you were doing CAD yesterday, you're going to go into the breakout room.
Oh. Or do you have to assign? You might have to assign. So can everybody raise their hand if they were in the doing CAD yesterday? I can assign you. All right. So Cruz. Group. See who else? Okay, I did. Ariane. And then Tyler. Okay, Tyler, I assigned you. I think you should be able to join it now. Let me see. Yes. Okay, I think we got everybody now. Okay, okay, so we're all in the right rooms now. Okay, okay. Let's see. A long time no see, Alicia. All right. Let's see. So we're gonna get started first with. So basically today, most of the class we're gonna spend working on our projects, like end of the class projects, and then just like the first like 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. I'll just do some like basic stuff where or some more concepts where I'll be talking about how to take input from the user and use that input for maybe your program if you want to make a quiz. Take like whatever their responses, and then if you want based off of whatever response somebody puts in something to happen or something else to get printed out, you can do that using user input. Also be showing how to read and write to files. Like let's say you have a file and you have some numbers or some input in there or some like text in there, and you want to read that into your program and then use that. Also be showing how to do that. And then also if you have some text and you want to send that to a file and export that text to a file, that can also be done. And then lastly, I'll just show how to generate random numbers. Okay. Does this sound good to everybody? Okay, so I know Kadar isn't here, but I think he'll be trickling in shortly. Okay, so let me get started. I'll just quickly, everybody, if you want to create a REPL, and either if you want to code along, or you can just actually probably just watch my screen, and at the end, I'll just send a link to the REPL with all the code that I was showing, and then so when you're doing your project, you can refer back to that code as needed. So just create my REPL and then I'll share my screen. Okay, so let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Everybody can see it, right? Okay. So we'll first start with taking input in from the user. So what that means is, let's say you want the user to type something. Let's say you're asking the user a question, what is your favorite food? And the user said, let's say the user, there's 3 possible options: pizza, ice cream, or French fries, for example. And so you want the user to enter one of these 3 options. So how can you actually figure out if they entered one of those options? Or maybe the user didn't even enter any of those options. So that's what user input basically entails, just seeing what the user types in the this terminal here where we run our code, and actually taking that input and using that for some particular part of our program. So just like remember yesterday how we had to import the java.utils.arrays package to print out the arrays to actually see the text, or like the full form, like what numbers or whatever data the arrays hold. Does everybody remember that? Yeah. So to use to do user input, we have to import another library from the exact same spot. It's called scanner. So basically just import java.util.scanner. This is the location of the scanner class. And now to declare this scanner, you can create a scanner. We'll call it input with new scanner system.in. So basically this is just a way to say system.in is basically saying, okay, we want to take input in from the user. And we're just creating an object of this scanner class, and we're just giving it the name input. So this is basically just like a variable / object with the name input. Scanner, okay, I think that should be fine. And now let's say we have a question. Let's do system. Oh, there's something in the chat. The scanner should be capitalized because Java is case sensitive, but that's a pretty minor thing. So we see, what is your favorite food? And now let's say what we're going to do here. So let's see, we'll do so we're going to store this value in a string. We'll call it string favorite food. So this is we're going to store whatever input the user enters. We're going to store it in a string, and that string will have a name of favorite food. So we're going to go through here, input the next line. And what I'll explain what this means. So basically here we're just using the input underscore. All right, that's whatever. So we're using the input object here, and this input object has a function. Remember we discussed functions yesterday. Function called next line, and when we call this function, it will basically give us whatever the user typed in from the line after it's prompted with this question favorite food. And then whatever that user typed in the next line, it's just going to store that into this variable favorite food. So let's test that out. Let's see what we get. So I'm just going to print favorite food. What's your favorite food? Pizza. So it prints out pizza. So for this line here was just asking us a question. The next line is whatever gives us space for the user to type something. And that's what this input.next line is capturing and putting into this variable of favorite food. So does that make sense to everybody? Thumbs up. Okay. I mean, any questions, put them in the chat or feel free to unmute. So now we have this. Okay. So now what we can do is we can say, and then let's say there's other things we want to take in. Like let's say we don't want to just ask the user for strings. We want to do, let's say we'll do integers. What is your favorite number? To be an integer. So now we'll just do integer favorite number. Now we're just going to be input.next int. So basically, it's just going to capture here up in the next line what integer it is, or what the integer is written in the next line by the user. And it's going to put that in this variable called favorite number. So now we can print out this thing here. It's called favorite number plus favorite number. I don't know why it's going to be an error for that. So let's see. So it's first going to ask us now, what is your favorite food? I'll just put pizza in. It's also going to ask us what's your favorite number. I'll say 12. Favorite number 12. So basically what it'll do is it does the same thing as the next line, except it'll just convert this into an integer. So initially whatever input's taken from the console is a string. And then implicitly in this next int, what it's going to do, it's going to convert that string form of the number 12. So initially it's a string form of the number 12, it's going to convert that into the actual number 12. And this is a concept known as casting, which is one of the a little bit more advanced Java concepts. But basically, oh, anyway, you put a question mark in the chat. Was what I just said confusing? All right. I'll assume it's fine. If you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat or just speak up for sure. So basically, we'll just take a string form of this, whatever input is put here in the next line, then convert that into whatever data type we want to store it into. So here, let's say we wanted to store the number 12 into a double, we'll convert the string from a 12 into the double, so 12.0. So, and let's say we want to double, we could just do input here dot next double, character input dot next char, etc. So it's pretty simple. You can pretty much guess the data type, or basically based on whatever data type you want to store from the user. You can basically just do input dot next whatever that data type is, except for in strings where you have to do next line. But that's the only exception. So does that make sense to everybody? Any questions about that at all? All right. Yep. Not seeing that. No, not seeing any questions. So I guess we'll continue. So here and now, really easily, what you could just do is you could just say now, like, if favorite food equals, actually, it has to be dot equal. So with strings, you can't just do like the equals. I'll give you an example. So I'll just like quickly test this out. Okay, I'm gonna store this in a boolean. So boolean is same, and we're gonna see if favorite food equals pizza. And now we'll just print out the value of this boolean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter pizza for the value of favorite food, and we'll see if they're both. So you see here, I put pizza, which is the exact same thing as the string. So basically what you'd be doing is just saying pizza equals pizza. So why did that evaluate the false? They're both the exact same thing. So if you remember yesterday, I told you that arrays are an object, which means that when you try to print the array, it's stored as a location, as like a specific address in memory. So in the same concept, strings are also like that. So these strings, for some reason, unlike all the other data types, which are just normal variables and not objects, strings, Java has decided are objects. So what it's actually checking is seeing, okay, this memory location is behind your food. That's not the same as this one for pizza. So by even though the values are the same, their specific locations in memory are not the same. So that's why it evaluates the false. But now we're just trying to compare their values, not their location. If we're trying to compare their locations in memory, then we would use the equals. But Java has another method for that. So we can just do like, if we want to just see if the value is equal, we can just do if favorite food dot equals pizza. So now this will not check for the memory address. This will check for just the value, just the string, the contents of the string. So does that make sense? All right, I just put on one.
Manish?
Yes.
Real quick, how do you do like the enter? Is it /n or /n?
Oh, in the string. It's what is this? This is a backward slash, I think. I'll put it in the chat. That's /n character.
I think that's backwards.
Yeah, I think it's backwards. There's also /t for tab and /b for bold.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, now let's test it. Oh, shoot. I wrote it here. Let me stop the program. I'll run it again. So now we see they're both equal because now we're just comparing solely that value. So if you want to compare solely the contents of the string, use dot equals. Don't do the equals like we would normally do for like an integer or a float or a character, something like that. Okay, are we good with that? So that's everything from about taking input from the user. So now we're going to learn how to we're going to learn now how to take inputs from files and also output the files. So what we're going to do is, give me 1 second, just pull up some stuff. So if we're outputting the files, we have to import another library. And this is called, what is this one? This is, I forgot the import statement for this. This is, give me 1 sec. Okay, so there's actually a specific library, wrong library. So this, we're going to use a class here, new class. We're going to call it the file. It's called the file writer class. A pretty self-explanatory name. And then we also have to import one more class just to be extra safe here, which we're going to use for error handling, which might be an ambiguous term right now, but once we go through the code, I think it'll make a lot of sense. So we're going to import these two objects, or these two classes, and I'm going to put this in the chat, so you don't have to have the pain of actually writing this stuff out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment that code out, and now let's go back to our stuff we had with the scanner. So just like we declared an object of the scanner and we call that input, we have to do the same for this file writer class. So we're just going to now do here, we're just going to type the name of the class first, file writer. We're just going to call it write. It's a bad name, but it's fine. Then we're going to new file writer, just like we did with scanner. And we're just now going to pass in a name. Let's say output file.txt. So now we're saying we're going to want to write to this file called output file.txt, which we haven't created yet. So what we have to do is we have to go here. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that because I don't remember for sure. But even if the file is not created, sometimes Java will automatically create the file for you when you're writing out to the file. So you don't even have to create the specific file beforehand. You can just say, I want to pass some output into a file called output file.txt. So now what we're going to do is now we're going to actually write to the file. We're going to write, actually we're just going to do write dot. This is really bad. I call my object write. I'm just going to call it, I'm going to change the name to export because the write.write doesn't make any sense. So call it export dot write. And I'm going to write hello. I am writing to a file. And now we have to close our object here, the export object. So we're going to close it here. And actually, real quick, I also realized whenever you're after the end of your program, you also want to close your scanner. Because otherwise you can get some leaky memory exceptions, and then your program will be behaving weirdly for no reason. So make sure always at the end of your program, like the last lines, make sure to close any objects, like any objects that are either writing to files or taking input from users or taking inputs from files. Just make sure to close them. You can just do that by just doing .close. So it's pretty simple. So you're getting some errors. Oh, okay, yes. So now here we're gonna now we have this code here, but we're getting some errors. And what it's saying is unhandled exception, type IO exception. So Java is a language that's extra cautious. And what that means is that basically, let's say that for some reason we cannot write to this file for some unforeseen circumstances. So Java wants us to account for that. And let's say if in that case we cannot write to the file, then Java will throw what's known as an IO exception, which stands for input output exception. So if we can't write to the file for some reason, then Java will throw this error message out at us. So, and now in this code, it wants us to account for that error message beforehand. So we don't have to see that nasty error, that whole stream error output from Java, because that can be pretty scary. It wants us to account for that and say, in the scenario that we encounter an IO exception, I want to do XYZ. So does that make sense? Why we need to account for this this IO exception? Any questions on that? Okay. So now we're going to introduce like a new kind of like statements in a way. Like we had if statements. Now we have another kind of statement, and these are called try-catch statements. So what this means is, so it's to say, okay, we're going to try to write to this file here, this code. So this try statement, we're going to try to write to the file, right? And then we're also going to close it in here as a good practice. And now, but let's say we for some reason run into an exception. So now we're going to have to catch here. That's why it's called try catch. So we're going to catch. We're going to say, okay, let's say potentially we run into an IO exception. So in this catch, in this statement, the brackets of the catch, we're going to say, what do we want to do let's say if we encounter a catch, or if we encounter an IO exception. So this is basically saying, okay, try writing to the file, but if we encounter an IO exception, we're going to want to follow the code inside here. But chances are we will not run into an IO exception. It's just that Java wants us to account for that. It's like an error happened. And there's another thing we can do, which you can print out the error code. You can print out the specific error, and that's what's known, and that's what we do with this e.print stack trace. So this is basically just going to print out the Java error message, unlike the Java's error handling process. So we can actually see what the compiler is thinking behind the scenes. This is just like a little glance, and we do that. The reason we do E here is because just like we had an object with the file writer and the scanner, we have another one with the IO exception, and we just call it E. I just call it E. You can call it whatever you want. But I just do e.print stack trace, and that'll give us the error. Take the specific error Java is having. And now let's check it out. Let's run this code. Okay, so see, it automatically generated the file for us. And it says, hello, I am writing to a file. So that's pretty cool. So let's say like you have to save some text from your program because you need some notes, or you just want to see the output of a program at a specific time. You can use this and you can just export to the file, but make sure to do the try catch loops because you have to account, because Java wants you to account for the case in which, for some unforeseen circumstances, you get an error, which will throw the IO exception. So everybody clear on the IO exception, why it happens, this try catch, which is a new kind of like statement we've learned, all this imports and stuff. Already good with this? Okay, sounds good. So now, any questions at all? 'Cause I know this is some of the more intermediate advanced Java concepts. So this might be a little bit tough, especially because we've only been doing Java for one day. So any questions, don't hesitate at all. And I know we'll definitely get questions. Yes, I'll do that right now. Actually, what I'll do is I have a REPL. I'm going to send a link to the REPL. So I think I can just do this. So I'm gonna send the link to the code. So all the code that we're discussing, you can just get a link here, copy paste it for your projects, etc. So you can just copy paste it here. So I just gave you that link. Thanks, Anishka. So now we have writing out to a file. But let's say now we want to write into a file. Or no, not write into a file. We want to what you call it? We want to take input from a file. So we have now here we have to create a file. Because let's say we want to take input from a file. How can we take input if there's no file? That's not possible. Let's create an input file. And I'll say, hello, here is some comments. Your input. This is scanning. Or just writing out to a file. And now we'll do the next part, which will be we're going to do now, we're going to be reading from a file. Yep, so we're going to be reading. We're going to get more comments, so when you go to copy and paste the code, if you need it, it's a little bit more readable. So you can say, okay, this part is doing XYZ. So let's get started with this. So here, what we're going to do is okay, we're going to come back to the scanner, because just like how the scanner can be pointed to take input from the console, we can also point the scanner to take input from a file. So when we do the system.in, we're pointing the scanner in the direction of, okay, take input from this console here. But now we can pass it a different thing, we can make it take input from the file. So, and to do that, we also need to import two things here. Java.file and import java.io file. So just like we wrote right out to a file, we were writing out to a file, we have to account for the IO exception, and I just put these imports in the chat. Just like we have to account for the IO exception, here, let's say Java wants us now to account for the case. Let's say we were trying to take input from a file, but there might not be any file in the first place. We might have forgotten to do that. So Java wants us to account for that case as well. And then in that case where we don't have to, we haven't created a file to take input from, that will generate a file not found exception, which is pretty self-explanatory. There's no file. I can't read anything. What am I supposed to do here? So let's do this. So we're gonna do first. We're gonna do another try catch statement. We're gonna catch here, and now when we're catching, now instead of doing the IO exception, we're just gonna do the file not found exception. So basically saying instead of being no way for us to do output, we're saying there's no file. What do we do here now? We can just do the exact same thing. We're just send that out there. Println file not found. Please create. Now we can also just print out the error. This thing here, that print stack trace, like we did with the what do you call it? With the reading out the files in the case of an IO exception. And now we've handled our error. Nice. So now in the case that there's not an error, we actually have created the file, we're ready to go with reading it. What do? Now this is the code we're going to put here in this try statement. So everybody good with this up to this point? If thumbs up or anything will be great. Okay, sounds good. So now let's do here. First, we have to create another object. So we've created a lot of these objects. Objects are a fundamental unit of Java. So basically, anything you import, you're gonna have to create an object for it in your program when you want to use it. So we're just gonna do file object. Call it new file, and now we're just going to pass in here the name of our file, which is input file.txt. So we have our file object here, which is pointed at this input file.txt here, which we've already created with some input. So now we're going to do scanner again. Do a scanner input from file equals new scanner. Instead of doing system.in, what we're going to do is we're going to pass in here our file object. So what this is doing now is saying, okay, scanner, instead of being pointed to the console like you normally are, let's point you to a file with the name input file.txt. And here's an object which has all the information you ever need to know about this file. We pass it in right here. What happened? There's some errors. Oh, I actually typed out the wrong import statements. That's my bad to everybody who copied it. I'm gonna see if you can do. You can't delete messages from the chat, of course. So I just changed it here. So I by accident made a typo here and I was typing out the import statement for this file class, but it should all be fixed now. Now we've imported our file, and now we've pointed our scanner in the right direction. All that's left out is for us to take input. And we're going to use a while loop, which we discussed yesterday. And we're going to say, let's type this out. So what this basically does is it's saying while input from file dot has next line. What this isn't saying is while there's some lines of content in this file. So right now we only have one, but let's say we have, I can copy this like 10 times over. Oh, stop. So while there is input in this file, so while there's some content that still has not been read yet. So while there's some content here in this file, keep going until there's a next line with actual stuff. Let's keep reading that. So now here, to store that, we're just going to create a string. We're going to call it line equals, and we're just going to call it here from input from file, which is just reading it, dot next line. So it's the exact same thing as taking some input from the console as a string, except that the syntax is the exact same. Like we have input dot next, not input dot next line. We also have input from file dot next line. What's that? Input from file dot next line. Okay, I think that's just some gibberish. So now I'm just gonna let's print out these lines and see what we get. So now we have the line, let's print it out now. Okay, let's run this. Let's see what we get. We got a lot of stuff. Let's use the exact same thing here. So we this 1, 2, 3, 3 lines of the exact same stuff. Our fourth line had the exact same stuff that's copy pasted twice, and then we had a bunch more lines just like that. So this went perfectly. This basically just took input in from this file. So first we started with a file object that points to our file which we want to take input from. Now we just point our scanner in the direction of that file as well. Have a while loop that goes until there's an empty line with no content left, meaning we read the entire file. We just use our same scanner syntax that we've been using to get string input. We'll just print it out. That's all there is to it. And now let's say just to test out to see if our try catch actually works. Now here I have no file called input file.txt. Let's see what we get. So can somebody tell me what you think we'll get? I see. Avinan said you have a question. So Avinan, do you want me to re-explain the code again, and then you think that'll help?
I didn't ask a question.
Oh yeah, you have a question? Yeah, what's your question?
I said I didn't have a question.
Oh, you said I didn't copy in the chat. Oh, I thought you meant, so you understand? Okay, I thought you meant you didn't understand. Okay, so can somebody tell me what will happen here since I don't have this input file.txt anymore? Anybody got any ideas what will happen? Anybody got any ideas? Remember, we have this, now we have this exception here that says in the case of a file not found exception. And if we don't have a file, how can the compiler, when it's running our code, find it? Yeah, Anishka? You're muted.
You've actually added something. You have a file. You have something that will create a new file.
So you don't think we'll run into this error?
I think it'll just create the file again.
Okay, let's see what we get. Anybody else have any ideas? Okay, let's see what we get. Yeah, so we got an error, which means it went into this catch statement right here. And it says it printed out what we said, like file not found, please create, and then the error message drafted from Java. So the reason why we had to create a file here when we're taking input, but not when we're taking out, not when we're doing output, is because an input we have beforehand, we have to create a file that has some text that the program can read. Because let's say even Java generated this empty input file.txt. Let's say they generated this file, it was empty. So if it's empty, there's nothing to read it. So there's no point in reading. So we have to have this file created with some text that we want read in beforehand. Otherwise, there's just no point in taking input. So does that make sense why we got the error? Okay, so now, yeah. So this I was just trying to show like what happens when the catch statement actually gets like invoked. So you can see the e.print stack trace took care in printing this, and it said pretty clearly, file not found, input file.txt, no such file or directory, etc. So that's pretty cool. So that shows our code actually works. I was able to keep track of and actually figure out, okay, when you didn't have this file, how can we account for it in a non-chaotic way? So we have all of this code. So let's see here. Okay, so we still have, I think, yeah, we have one more thing that I wanted to cover, which was random numbers. Oh, I don't know why I uncommented all of them. So the last thing we have is random number generator. And for this, just like in the rest of our exercises, we're going to have to import something. So let me just quickly. So, okay, so you have to do an import here. To import java.util.random. And I'll just double check to make sure that this is right. Yep, so java.util.random. Okay, so now here, just like we did before, we have to create an instance of this random class. So we're going to call it random rand, this new random. So now we have random rand equals new random. So this is our random object that will actually generate the number. And now it's just to print into random number equals rand next int. So actually just we generated from 0 to 100. So we can just do this. So basically, yeah, all right. And then I'll just print this out. So let's just see what this does. Taking a while. Oh. So print out 10 here. And what this will do actually, so from 100, it's going to go from 0 to 99. Right now, that's just how the random number is built to operate, the random generator. It's going to go from 0 to 99. So if we want to make sure it goes from 1 to 100, we can just add 1. And then that'll just show, so let's say we get 0 in our lowest case, it'll add to 1, we get 99 in our highest case, it'll add it to 100. So now we can just do, that's why you have the +1 equivalent go from 0 to 100 instead of from, or if you want to go from 1 to 100 instead of 0 to 99. So basically here you can generate, so we see here the next int method used, just like in the scanner, we had next in, next line. So these classes are all pretty similar when it comes to generating numbers, taking input from lines. So Java uses the same like kind of formatting system over and over again. Okay, Alicia, yes.
Oh, sorry. For some reason, my else loop is not working. It's giving me an error for else.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna quickly explain the projects and all the materials covered. We've covered it all. And then we'll I'll take a look at your else.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the 4 things I just wanted to quickly share with you, which we got through pretty quickly. So I'll just I sent the link to the code if anybody needs to copy this in the chat earlier. So but let me know. I can actually I'll send it again just in case. So it's the most recent thing. So it just has all these things, these 4 like different kinds of these 4 different like things we learned to do in Java. Take user input from the console, where they can clear. Console, write out to a file, read in from a file, and generate random numbers. So any questions on any of these 4 things that we covered? Should you raise your hand? Is it for the same else loop thing? All right, awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so I guess now we're ready to get started on our project, which you should have around like 2 hours to do, which is pretty good. Okay. So with the project, I think that actually, so there's 2 options here for the project. So either we can build what's you can build on blackjack. We can build a thing that plays blackjack, like a program to play blackjack against. So blackjack program, and is everybody familiar with blackjack? No, not everybody's familiar. Okay.
It's not a very common game.
Say that again, Alicia?
I said it's not a very common game.
I thought it was pretty common.
Nah.
We're literally kids. Of course, we're not gonna know blackjack.
I knew blackjack when I was like 12. All right, we can let's quickly figure it out. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is so basically you play against the dealer. It's just you versus the dealer, and the dealer in this case will be like a computer. So this is where this is gonna involve some random number generator. So here, I think there's 3 ways for us to beat the dealer. We can either draw a value of our hand, which is just basically the sum of our cards. Basically, like each of our hands is just the sum of our cards, and we can say, okay, if our hand is higher than the dealer's hand value, then we win. If the dealer draws a hand value that goes over 21, so if the sum of their cards is over 21, but ours is not, then we win as well. Let's say if we draw, so basically we have 2 cards to draw. Let's say these first 2 cards that we draw, if our sum of our hand is 21, we win. And if the dealer's isn't, then we win. Yeah, if the dealer's isn't, but we have 21, then we win. If both of us are 21, which is very rare, there's a tie. And we're gonna play a slightly modified version where the max number of cards you can draw in a single round is 3. So basically max num of cards to draw is 3. Okay, so basically you have, so in those first 2 cards, the rules are like in the first 2 cards, your hand has to add up to 21. And now we have to discuss how does the hand exactly add up to 21. So everybody knows there's the cards in a deck of cards. There's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these all have the value of what you call it. These all have the value of what are the cards. Like a 2 has the value of 2, etc. So these all have the same value. For the face cards, so Jack, and everybody is familiar with like what is in a deck of cards, right? Oh, okay. So Anishka, you don't know, so I'll really quickly explain. So a deck of cards is 52 cards. There's 13 different kinds of cards, and each card occurs 4 times, and 4 different like denominations. There's hearts, spades, clubs, and diamonds. So there's 4 2s, 4 3s, 4 4s, and they're all like there's all like for each of the 4 2s, there's like 1 spade of diamonds, 1 spade of hearts, 1 spade of clubs, and 1 spade of, or 1 2 of spades, something like that. So like each like diamonds, jacks, clubs, and the other one, they all have 1 card for 2, 3, 4, and then the face 2, 3, 4 up to 10, and then the face cards. So like jack, queen, king, and ace. So there's like 4 jacks, 4 queens, 4 kings, and 4 aces. So those are, does that make sense, Anishka? Okay, so yeah. So the jack, queen, king, and ace in blackjack, they have a value of 10. So like all the numbers have just the same, whatever the number is, that's just their value. Jack, queen, and king, all 3 of them have value of 10. And then ace is the trickiest one. And this might be, you have to do a little bit of thinking to implement this. But an ace can either be a 1 or 11. I don't know who came up with this, but this is just how the rules work. So an ace can be a 1 or 11. So let's say I have a certain face. Let's say you have 2 cards. Let's say you draw a jack and a queen. All right? And then the next thing you draw is an ace. So the jack and queen both have a value of 10. And here, what you can basically do is you want the user to decide whether the ace is what you call it, the value of the ace. So if it's an ace, the user can either choose for it to be a 1 or an 11. If they choose for it to be a 1, which is this way smarter decision, then it adds up to 21, and they win. Yeah, as long as the dealer doesn't have 20. But if they choose 11, then it goes to 20, 31. Then we'll see here, how do you lose to the dealer? The first one is your hand value exceeds 21. So if your hand value exceeds 21, you're gone. So this is a pretty dumb decision if you choose for the value of the ace to equal 11. In this scenario, in some other scenarios, it could be smarter decision. So basically, whenever the user draws an ace, you want them to be prompted with an option to say, do you want it to be a 1 or an 11? So what we can do here, and also let's say the dealer draws an ace. What should we do in that scenario? So what we should do in that scenario, we should write some conditions that dictate whether it's better for the dealer to have to choose it as a 1 or 11. So it should automatically happen. Like I shouldn't always just try. I think it's a little challenging to do that, but just for like the basic for this first version, just have dealer's ace is always 1. Just have it like that. And if you want to try to, after you build this version of blackjack, if you want to try to add some logic that figures out whether it's better for the dealer's ace value to either be 1 or 11, you can try that afterwards. That's a little bit more tricky to implement. So for now, just to keep it easy, just keep the value of the dealer's ace always 1. But for the user, ask them to choose 1 or 11. Because I think that's something that can be done pretty easily with the knowledge of learned the last couple of days. So does this brief explanation make sense to everybody? Any questions? Okay, cool. So let me just save this text. I don't want to lose it. And scroll down. Oh, I can get rid of the clear mouse. So there's some ways to lose. The dealer, your hand value exceeds 21, and the dealer has a greater value. Their hand has a greater value than yours at the end of the round. So at the end of the 3 cards, after drawing the 3 cards, the dealer has if the dealer has a higher value than you, then they win. As long as both of the values are under 21. So whoever's value goes over 21 first, they automatically lose. If somebody gets exactly 21 and the other person doesn't, they win. And more or less, if somebody has 21, the other person basically never will have 21. But in that case, that would be a tie. And if, let's say, both the dealer and you both have the same hand value, then there's a tie too at the end of the round. So I know I just threw a lot of instructions at you. Also send this link in the chat for how to play the blackjack. Okay, you mean blackjack as the game? Well, once you make it, you can play with it. You can play against the computer. It is pretty cool. So I just sent the link for how to play blackjack. Basically, you just have to look at these first opening statements. That should basically be everything you need. Okay. So does this sound? So basically, this is the first project idea. And the second project you can do is kind of like a quiz. So where you take let's say there's a string and you're asking them use different questions like what's your favorite food? String favorite food. What then basically at the end, what's their name, etc. String to hold their name. So basically based off of whatever input the user gives, you can write a program that takes that input in and says, oh, your favorite food is pizza? Well, if your favorite food is pizza too, my favorite food is pizza. Let's say like my favorite food is pizza and the user entered their favorite food is pizza as well. You can say, oh, my food is, both of us have the same favorite food. That's cool. Something like that. That's just an example. So basically you can make like a little quiz game like that. Or you could ask them like trivia questions and say, so let's say it's like, let's see, what's a good trivia question? When was the sport of basketball invented? You can give them 4 options, like A, 2005, B, 1252, C, 1800, D, 1900. Oh yeah, D is 1893. And let's say they say D is 18. Let's say they put the answer as D. You can be like, okay, D 1893. That's correct. And every other option, they weren't correct. And you can store how many questions they got right. And at the end, you can say, oh, you got 15 questions right out of 20 or something like that. So does that make sense to everybody? What you could do for the quiz game? Okay. Any questions at all about any of these projects? Okay. So basically, everybody can just. Oh yes, Anishka.
And do we have to do one of them or both of them?
So you could start with doing one of them, and then if you have some time left over, you could either keep working on one of yours, the first one to make it better, or you could try to start the second one.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. So I guess each person you can just choose whatever project you want to do, and then just start working on it. If you have any questions, just let me know. If you want to share your screen to go look over some of your code, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Taj?
Yes, I saw you finished your quiz. Good job, Alicia. You can work on the blackjack project in Java, or just keep working on your quiz if you want.
I already did blackjack before, so should I do something else? Like quiz? Another quiz?
You can keep working on your quiz, or you can make like solitaire, which is a little bit more complicated to me. I can send the instructions for solitaire.
I don't like solitaire, so I think I'll just make another quiz.
All right, you can make another quiz. Yeah, sure.
Ooh, wait, can I make a calculator?
Yeah, you actually can make a calculator, and what you can do is like I'll just really quickly share my screen. You can make a calculator, and you can do like let's say the plus operation, like the basic operations like plus, minus, multiply, and divide. You can also do, let's say the user passes in an operation, let's say they pass in a question mark. You can make a custom operation. Let's say they pass in a question mark. You can say, okay, a question mark means that I'll add the 2 numbers, let's say X and Y. I'll add the 2 numbers, then I'll divide them by 5. That's just an example. So you can make like custom mathematical operations with the calculator too.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah. That you can do taking input from scan. Okay.
Yeah, I might do a little bit differently, but I'll try.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so everybody can start working now, and so we'll have a break at like 2:30 like we normally do, and then we'll finish like 10 minutes early so we can just do a little bit of a feedback form, and then we'll be good to go since this is the last day. Okay, does that sound good to everybody? All right, great. So I don't see any code in your REPL, Avinag. Like I just see like the basic 4 lines.
Yes, I'm just a bit confused on how to make the quiz. So
Oh, okay. So let's see. So do you want to? You probably want to start by importing and using the scanner, right? You remember how to do that?
no.
Okay, so let's first start with getting the line to import the scanner, which is right here. So I just put in the chat. Oh no, don't use that one as a typo. So I just put the import div in the chat. This is what you can use. Can you see the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to copy paste that in at the top of your program. And that'll be what you can use for creating the or importing the scanner class, so you can use it in your program. So you want to put it like before line number 1.
Here?
Before line number 1. So like you see line 1, you want to put it. You want to make that the first line instead of what is currently there. Yeah, you don't want to delete line 1 because that's still essential to having your program run. But you see, so just to do undo.
Oops. I think I deleted it. Never mind.
I didn't have any code in it, so I don't think that was a super big deal. Okay, let's let this one load. So we're gonna put it like right here, exactly. Yeah, nice. So now you want to create scanner object. So you remember how to do that? You remember like the scanner, scanner like input equals new scanner system.in. Do you remember that?
I don't think so. Like, I don't think so.
So you want me to give? Do you want me to or can you give me like remote control access of your screen? I can quickly type it in. And
Yeah.
then so first let's so whenever we're importing using the class, we first have to write its name. So we're using the scanner class. We're also going to need a semicolon after this. We're going to now we have a scanner object here, this scanner class, and we have to give it a name now. So we're going to have to give it the name input, and now we'll have to do equals new scanner. So basically, this is like some boilerplate text you can always just type in when we're creating the scanner. So I think we forgot one more correct. So just like that. So now we have our scanner object created, and we give it the name input. So does this make sense to you and how this works?
What?
Does this line number 4 here that I just typed out make sense now?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's ask the user for prompt the user with a question. So I'll just ask. I think this, you can change this question. I'll just say, what is your
Favorite food?
Now we want to store the input from what the user gives us into a string and actually use that to figure out what their favorite food is and prompt the user with any more questions besides that. So to string favorite food
Is new. No wait.
Oh.
No. What? Yeah.
input dot. You remember this one? Next one.
Input dot pizza.
No.
Input dot pizza. Input dot next line pizza, right?
So this next line. So basically, what this will do is I'll show. When I run it, I'll show you. So what this will do is when you say favorite food, right? So this is this one. But then the line after favorite food. So the next line is what we're going to be typing on. So this is the next line. So basically what this does is we type input.next line, it'll capture whatever input we put in. So I put this
Oh.
here. So that now it's favorite food is going to have this input that I put in right here. So does that make
Okay.
sense? What the input that next line is doing?
So
Yeah.
do I either have to write it on the console thing? Do I either have to write it here or can I just write it here? The
Right.
pizza.
What the favorite food is exactly?
Pizza.
So you write pizza in the console. And now it gets stored in your program in this variable favorite food.
Okay.
And then now you can say like if favorite food
Favorite food.
favorite food dot equals. So for strings, if you want to see a string is equal to something, you have to use this dot equals method. If it's equal to pizza,
Okay.
say you can print like me too, or something like that, etc. So you can ask like a bunch of questions like that.
Mm-hmm.
So does that
like everything with oh wait, hold on. It holds everything with it holds all the values including like the jack, queen, king, and ace, and I don't really know what to do after.
Okay, so you want to probably start with generating the two random numbers. So how blackjack works is there's like, so first you and the dealer both pick two cards, but one of the dealer's cards will be hidden. So you only get to see like the first card that the dealer picked. Well, you get to see both of the cards that you picked. So based off that, you can either decide whether or not to draw a third card, or let's say you draw the third card, then the dealer would draw a third card, then you'll compare. Otherwise, what would be? If you say, I don't want to draw a card, then the dealer will pick his third card, their third card, then you'll compare. So that's basically the variation after you first draw the two cards. But both of you always draw the two cards in every single round. So
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then would I do that using another array?
So you could just have two variables that hold like, so player so you can, what you can do is you can generate a, what do you call it? So you could have like, so whatever the length of your cards is, so that's 13. You could have that, you could generate a random number between like 0 and 13. And then based off that, whatever that random number is, you could just get the index, like string array that you created called cards. You get the index of that and see. Okay, so let's say you generated 1, then that would be cards of 1 is 3. So you could just do that, and then that would be like the first card that the player or the dealer drew, and then you could just repeat that same logic.
All right. Yeah, I got it.
Good questions.
Tonish?
Yes.
So I'm still looking through my old repos to figure out what I have done. And I found out I did a Harry Potter quiz using C++.
Okay.
Completely forgot about it. Can I try sharing it?
Sure. You can put the link in the chat or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I posted it.
Cool. People who want to check it out, you can put that for sure.
Do we have to fill the form out?
That's the feedback form, yeah. So before you leave class today, fill that out.
Oh, okay, I did it.
Nice. Yeah, that goes for everybody, yeah. Thanks.
I really enjoyed it.
That's good to hear. Anishka, what do you need help with?
So in one of my programs, it's simply ignoring the if.
Do you want to share your screen?
So what this is saying, so I made a system so like Q. If you get the answer to question 1, IQ and Q. If you get it for question, and then there's a else statement that'll ensure that it always happens.
You don't
So,
need a
like-
semicolon after the else, like on line 21. You see a semicolon after the curly braces? You don't need that.
But
No, no, not
what's
that one. The one outside of the else. I'll show. I'll annotate it. So add that other one back. Yeah, and then the same goes for line 29. Oh yeah, and that one too. That's it. I don't know if that'll fix it. Let's see. Okay, yeah.
what did you do?
Yeah, I think there's some syntax. Can you give me remote control access to your screen? Okay, let's check all the brackets to see if they're right. Okay, I'm gonna start with some indenting in here. So I just put formatting it so it's all in line. So if IQ equals 0 and Q equals 0. What is Q1?
Question 1, INT. Oh, wait, sorry. I changed the variable up top, but I forgot to change.
Okay. Okay, let's keep going. So just IQ plus plus else QN plus plus. Yeah, where is this variable QN? I think, do you mean to define this one here as QN?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I added it, then you added it, then I deleted it, and then you deleted it too. All right. Let's see. Okay, so 25, you just have a Q here. I'll add that. All right, so I'll stop remote controlling your screen. So now you should go to just, now your code should work.
And so this should come after I've answered the last one.
So let's skip over your last question.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the last thing on the screen. First, you answer this and then.
Yeah, we'll take a look. All right. Can you let me control your screen so I can see like the brackets and stuff?
I'm pretty sure I didn't see it. You should still be able to.
I get it. When you were running the filter, I thought we were good. Just these brackets real quick. So you want to try to like maintain your brackets like that they're all the right order and indented correctly. Otherwise, your program will be very hard to read. Yeah, so that's formatting of the program is important. Okay. Now let's take a look here. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, let me run it. So I think it might be hitting hitting the threshold of n equals 3 too early. So let's just see 0, 0. Yeah. So it just
Yeah, but
yeah, it skipped this third one. Let's check it. Let's see. Okay. Um. So
I just don't understand what I'm doing wrong.
yeah, I'm curious about this as well. Let's see. So Qn starts at 0.
I think it's just not waiting for us to reply.
Yeah. Let me get rid of this input.clue. I don't know if that'll do anything. Yeah, this is strange. But we'll get through it. Skip it again.
Yeah, they saw that's what happened. That it takes the input as non-existent.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So this might be a little bit weird, but let me just try this one. Just
What does that mean?
Yes, now it works. So what happened was that, so basically after these two integers, you have to point the what do you call it? So when you read the input.next integer, it's only reading in this integer character. So it stays on this same line. So what you have to do is you have to point it to the next line by doing the input.next line. Here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't understand why that changed anything. Shouldn't it go to the next line automatically?
That's the problem with this next int method. It doesn't. The next line does. The next line method, the next line right that we use right here does. The next int doesn't. So basically, when you continue reading here, if you don't have this, when you continue reading with this input.next line, all it is getting is just the new line character. I think I have a better way to explain. So let me just admit Cruz and put him back into his room. So Anushka, with that thing, so where you have the next int, all it does is just reads the integer. And when you have that new line, you know how you have the new line that pops up and has the question, has the user asked, answer true or no? You remember that line?
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly. There's a bit,
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
yeah,
So you want to share your screen again, and we can really quickly just go over it. There's an interesting thing that happens with the scanning. So when you read in, so when you do these input.next int, it just reads these characters specifically. So it doesn't like read the whole line. But when you have here, so after you put in this second answer to this questions, this like multiplication one, the second multiplication one, and it goes to the third one, all the next line method is doing right here, this input.next line, let's say we don't have this line 14, let's say it's deleted, and we only are just taking input formally, like we did with like you were doing beforehand. What it's going to do is it's going to take in that new line character. You know, every time you hit enter, behind the scenes, the compiler passes it the backslash n. You remember the backslash n that we were talking about yesterday? So the compiler interprets that as a backslash n, and it'll take that as the input to the string. Cruz, I'm going to assign you to your room right now. So it just takes in that backslash n as that misthinks, or like it understands incorrectly that you want to pass in another string. It thinks that enter is the string you're trying to pass it. So that's why if you look at here, if we print out like this value of string Q3C, you'll see that it's only taking, it'll only have two characters /n. So that's why you have to add this input.next line to like skip over that /n. So it's like input.next line will like get that /n as the value, but then it'll also allow you to skip over it, such that now when you answer the "Are you a robot?" question, that true answer, the true or no, can go into the question 3 variable. Does that make sense?
no, not really, because
Okay, yeah. This is a tricky concept. So, give me your remote control of your screen again. Sorry, I know this is the third time, but this is a pretty interesting thing that happened. Oh, why do I have the pencil? Okay. For some reason I'm only drawing. Okay, let me give the remote control and then request it again.
I think you forgot to close the annotate window.
I don't see it open.
Wait, maybe it's because I was on the annotate thing.
Maybe, yeah. Are you off it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this. And now I'm also just gonna print. Let's see this value of Q3C. Let's stay on topic in the chat, please. So we can see that the Q3C doesn't have anything because what? So do you see here after the 0 we press enter and it'll ask us the next question? You see that in your stuff? So when we do this, so after we enter for the second question, it's fine because we just read the integer, the first one, and you read the integer in the second one. But this next int function that you're using to get the integer, it doesn't actually read the whole line. It will just read specifically that integer. So then when you click enter behind the scenes of the computer, that the enter gets stored as a string. So the computer can enter, okay, this string is an enter. So that gets stored as a string. Does that make sense? So that string is like, and this is basically an empty string, but this string is what the Java is what now Java the program thinks is input.next line. This string that corresponds to enter. Does that make sense? Like this empty string that corresponds to enter. This is now what that Java the program is now interpreting as what should be the value for the variable Q3C. Does that make sense? So but we don't want this empty string to be the actual variable because that doesn't hold our answer. That doesn't answer our question. So what we do to skip that is we add this input.next line. This input.next line like that piece of code. And what that will do is that will just basically allow us to, this empty string will get stored here in this input.next line. And now our Q3C can actually be used for answering the real question. Are you a robot? Answer true or no. So does that make sense why we added input.next line? Okay. Yeah, this was an interesting scenario in your stuff. All right. I can stop the sharing the remote control. Yeah. Okay, so we're nearing in on the last 20 minutes of class. So anybody have any problems with their code, need any help, etc.? Yesterday?
Okay, so for mine, since blue is my favorite color, I'm an if statement saying that if the input was blue, then it would say you have good luck, but there's something wrong with the thing.
Yeah, so first things, I think we talked about earlier today that when you're trying to see what the value of a string is, you have to use dot equals. Like you have to do if favorite color dot equals blue. Because when you do the equals, what it'll do is it'll just compare the memory location of favorite color with that string, which are both different. So,
Sorry, I'm thinking Python right now.
so dot equals, yeah.
So like that.
Dot equals. Like equals, like EQU, like the spell of the word equals.
Oh, like you have to spell it out here.
Yeah, like if
Ah.
favorite color dot equals. So like no spaces. And then you have to put like blue in parentheses.
Oh, blue or the equals.
No, the blue.
Yeah.
Really make sure you finish your parentheses. And then on your line 17, you have to end the line with the semicolon.
Oh yeah.
I literally just said that.
All right, I think it should compile now.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yep, no worries. I got Gryffindor when I took it, Alicia.
Are you an actual Gryffindor?
I don't know. I just took your quiz. Is there an actual quiz that you're supposed to take?
Well, you can take the official quiz on Pottermore. You can take the quiz on BuzzFeed.
Let me see.
I'm always Ravenclaw as well. Every single place I've taken the quiz, I get Ravenclaw.
Mhm.
Okay, if you don't want to make an account on Pottermore, I sent a link in the chat. This is the BuzzFeed one. It's the most accurate one.
I was taking one on this website called Brainfall. That didn't-
Don't take those. Those are not good. And they give you like percentage of how much each is.
Hmm. What? You need actual knowledge. Okay. Um,
I absolutely do not like Harry Potter.
Rude.
What?
That's just wrong.
And I also have no idea what Harry Potter is.
they're pretty good books if you want to read them.
Even more wrong.
Oh. Vibe and Cats are better than Harry Potter. Just saying.
I have like the actual one of Ginny Weasley, and when I took the quiz, I also got Ginny Weasley's one.
I once
think
went
cats
to
are
the
better than
Wizarding World at Universal and I wanted to get a wand. My parents wouldn't let me.
That hurt. My leg.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I dropped it on my foot.
That's just sad.
So are you.
Vibing cats are better than Harry Potter.
Yeah, no way.
Shut up.
Vibing cat.
If you had said vibing dogs, then I might consider. Not vibing cats.
There are. Never mind.
Wait, is that Voldemort's one?
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm
Yeah, there is. Vibing dogs.
It is you. You're right. But the core is Phoenix Feather. So, but I think in Ginny Weasley's wand, I am like 6,000,000% sure it's.
Also, whatever percentage you are the most, that's what house you are in, right, Alicia?
What?
You're the most, because whatever percentage you get the most of, that's the house that you're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got Ravenclaw too.
How much? How much percentage?
32. Mine were pretty close, evenly distributed.
I had 97% Ravenclaw.
That's really funny.
And I had 0% Gryffindor.
0? I had 21% Gryffindor.
I usually get like mostly Ravenclaw, but I also get an abnormally high amount of Slytherin.
Yeah, I got 26% Slytherin too.
I
usually get like
30%
30%.
Slytherin.
I usually get like 30% Slytherin, 50-ish% Ravenclaw, and a
I
tiny
got-
jumble of Gryffindor and Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I got 1% Hufflepuff, 2% Slytherin, and 97% Ravenclaw. It was so weird.
Yeah,
And I have Ginny. Curse you all. What are y'all's Patronuses?
I said mine was a lion.
Ooh. I'm like 20. I'm pretty sure mine was either a koala or a phoenix. I can't remember.
Wait, I just guessed which one I wanted mine to be. Is there a specific? How do you know which one it is?
Well, there are quizzes on the Pottermore website, but if you don't want that, there is another quiz.
Vibing dogs.
This one, I think. It might be the wrong one, but okay, I sent it in the chat. They're all BuzzFeeds.
What is Harry Potter?
The link is so weird. It's like spend a day at Hogwarts and we'll reveal your power. Look at the where's the link?
All right, already. So we're nearing the last 10 minutes of class. So if you want to get your feedback forms in before the next few minutes, that would be great.
I'm done.
Oh, Whoops. Okay, wrong. I was wrong. My chunk.
Your project, or if you want to try to build the blackjack, that's a little bit more top though. But you can choose.
My Patronus is an otter. I just took the quiz.
There's a quiz for everything apparently. Oh, I'm interested. Let me see.
You know what? You know what there is? There's probably a quiz for how much percent like of someone you are. There's probably like a how much percent are you or any.
But this quiz is so long. Oh my god. What? Mine is a stag.
Oh, that's Harry Potter's.
Wait, what did I put? I put a lion. That was wrong. Maybe that made me more Gryffindor. Yeah, again, a lot of Ravenclaw here.
Yeah. There's
Maybe
even a
that's
test-
because we're all in a coding class.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
It seems like a distinctly Ravenclaw thing.
Arvin is Gryffindor.
This doesn't really feel like something a Hufflepuff would do.
32%.
32% Gryffindor. That's pretty good, but it's like not more than half. I realize I'm still wearing the shirt.
All right, last 5 minutes of class. Afterwards, we'll just if you just stay in the main room for like 1 minute, I'll just give some quick closing stuff remarks, and then we'll be all good to go. But yeah, so doing it in the last 5 minutes, put the finishing touches on the what you call them, finishing touches on your project.
Who's your favorite character in Harry Potter?
Harry.
Boring.
Wait, Alicia, what's your favorite?
My favorite is Ginny Weasley and Hermione Granger.
Mine is
Why Ginny? Ugh.
If you were in person, I swear.
Controlling.
No, why not Ginny? Ginny is such a cool character. She doesn't get the respect she deserves.
Because she messed up in the second book.
She what?
She was the one who wasn't Voldemort controlling her in with the Chamber of Secrets?
That was not her fault.
That was, she messed up.
She tried to get rid of it. She tried to get rid of it.
2 minutes left, class left.
See? She agrees with me. Okay, raise your hand if you agree with me. It's not Ginny Weasley's fault. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Only 2 minutes of class left.
Rude.
What?
Thorough genius boring. All right, everybody, finish. Do the feedback form like as soon as possible. So we want to use all this feedback. This feedback's all really helpful for us to improve our camps and other events in the future. So we would really appreciate it.
Yes. I love Ginny Weasley so much that I begged my mom to have my hair dyed red. Literally.
Did she say yes?
No. Like, I wanted it so much.
Oh, Java group is gone. Okay. So I was gonna say some stuff at the end, but I guess I can just say it now. So
Bye-bye.
a little bit more than that. So thanks everyone for coming for this great week of the camp. I hope you learned a lot, both about just CADing and just Java programming as well. And both of these skills are really important when you like put them two together, because first to actually program the robot, you first need to build it. So that's what you first model the robot in CAD, and then you actually, it's like that's how you plan it out, and then you'll actually start to have all the pieces together in the line. And then you program it using Java, or at least for FTC. Some other competitions like Vex use C++, but Java and C++, their syntax is pretty similar as well. So I think this definitely, we were able to get through a lot of material in this Java portion of the camp. And I know definitely in the CAD, Tatiana, Colleen, definitely I think did a pretty good job. So I hope you learned a lot with this camp, had a lot of fun. Thanks for all your feedback. And if you want to come to her computing events in the future, volunteer with her computing, become a leader, etc., we'd be really happy to have all of you. So that's just what I wanted to say at the end. So I know it's 4 o'clock now, so we can probably put the finishing touches on your project, stay for any questions, but really, you were a really good class over these last couple of days, and I'm sure for the first 3 days as well. So just thank you for a great class, and hope you're able to learn a lot. It was really fun to teach you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for a good week.
Adios.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
bye, Tanya. See you.
Wait, tell Aileen I said bye.
All right, yeah, I'll tell you.
And tell her
Tell-
Slay
tell-
Texas.
Tell Aileen I say cool with a K.
No.
Yes.
No.
Bye, Nishka.
Tell
I agree with Kadar. I agree with Kadar.
No. Tell Aileen
Go away, Avian.
Texas sucks.
Huh? What? Never
Not
mind.
Texas
Bye-bye.
sucks.
Okay,
Texas-
Tanish, I'll ask Rhea to send me the form for the
Yeah,
sign up.
yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Arvin.